We're now going live from the district with Congressman Al Green himself. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me on your second anniversary.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, listen, we have some breaking news this morning. The transcript of President Trump's conversation with Ukraine's president has just been released. Have you had time to read it? What are your first impressions?
Have not. I read the breaking news as I was rushing to get here. I had a floor speech to give, so I did miss it. If you have something that you can share, I'll be more than pleased to respond to it.
Well, we'll try to work some of that in. But first, what does the inquiry mean for other Trump investigations more broadly without these transcripts being out right now?
Well, it just means that the various committees will continue to go forward with what they're doing. They will do so now knowing that we've reached critical mass, because on yesterday, we had nearly 200 members to be on record favoring moving forward with impeachment by way of an inquiry. I think this is very significant. I think that we do have to get to 218 for the actual articles of impeachment, but I do believe that the committees moving forward will make a difference knowing that we have critical mass.
Now, I want to ask you a kind of question connected to the transcript. It's interesting that the press has the transcript and it didn't get to you just yet this morning. Is that striking to you? What does that mean?
Well, to get to me would have required quite a bit of effort. This is my third interview this morning, and I've done a floor speech, so I won't hold anybody responsible for my not having it. I do think that it is important that we peruse this document closely. I think that it can provide additional evidence, but I also know that because this concerns national security, concerns a president of the United States contacting another president to acquire some evidence, some proof that can be used against a political foe, and at the same time withholding tax dollars, I think that that's pretty significant. And I don't think that we can allow it to go unchecked. And the only way we can check it is by way of impeachment. Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about that. We were remarking earlier that it seems like since news about this Trump-Ukraine call came out, everything has been moving really quickly. Do you think that Ukraine is the right avenue, or was the right avenue for this process to start?
I think that it started when we initiated our statement on the floor. That was quite concerning. Mr. Comey had been fired. The president had gone on national TV, prime time, confessed that it was the Russia thing that was being considered. And I think that we've been building. I think that yesterday for some was a straw that broke the camel's back. But for me, it was a moment of truth. It was a point of no return. I think that yesterday we decided that we were going forward with impeachment. It may not have been expressed in these explicit terms, but that's what has been decided. And I believe that the president will be impeached. I must also say this quickly. Yesterday occurred because of many people. These movements start from the bottom up, not the top down. And there were a good many organizations involved in this, people who have been pressing the flesh and asking that we go forward, people that I've met in bus stations and train stations and airports. So I think that the people have to continue the movement. The movement is not one that Congress is going to carry on without the aid and the assistance of the people. So thank those of you who have been involved. Please stay involved.
So, Representative, we are learning from this memo and transcript that Zelensky actually brought up Giuliani, Trump's personal lawyer, and asked to meet with him in Barr. And Giuliani's been talking a lot about this, hearing the transcripts this morning. What do you think should be done with Giuliani and his involvement from what we know so far? And what other folks in Trump's orbit do you think should also be held accountable for any of these relationships?
Well, Mr. Giuliani has been the president's de facto minister plenipotentiary as it relates to this cause. The president seems to have empowered him per Mr. Giuliani's statement. He seems to have had the blessings of the State Department. So in a sense, he has been speaking for the government. I think that we have to hold the president accountable. I think Mr. Giuliani is providing the evidence that will assist us in holding the president accountable, because he too has confessed that conversations were had about Mr. Biden, the vice president, and that these conversations were in an effort to get proof that something untoward had happened. And the speculation is, and the belief is, that this would be used in a campaign against Mr. Biden. This is the president's rerun of what happened in the last election, and we cannot allow the president to continue to behave this way. We have to impeach him.
You mentioned the election and Biden, of course. Now that we are in the 2020 election cycle, what is the strategy as a party going forward?
I cannot speak for the party and give the party strategy. I can only give my belief and what I think must happen. I believe that we have a duty and a responsibility to maintain guardrails around the presidency. I believe that if we fail to do this, the balance of power will be lost, that Congress will become subservient to the executive branch of government, that we won't be co-equal. And if this happens, I think that our democracy is at risk. So this is not about Democrats, it's about the democracy that can be at risk and the republic that we must save. I believe that we must move forward with impeachment. And I also believe that as we do so, there are subcommittees that can do all of the other things that we desire to do. The full committee does not have to engage in this process. Subcommittees can do their work as well. We can walk, chew gum, think, and talk at the same time and get all of this done. But we cannot avoid our Article 2, Section 4 responsibilities.
So, Congressman, what does today look like for you and other congressional leaders now that this transcript is out and people are going to be talking about this pretty much all day?
Well, to me, this day is very much akin to all of my days. I have been very much dedicated to getting my congressional duties taken care of, which include the impeachment effort. And I will continue with this. I'm going to make sure that I read the information that has been shared. I would like to see the complaint, but I also understand that if you have a complaint, you must have a complainant. And we need to hear from the complainant, the person. That person speaking can make a difference. But if we don't get the complainant and we don't get the complaint, we can still go forward because the president has incriminated himself in the political sense. And I say political sense because there is no requirement that we have a trial in the House of Representatives, no proof beyond a reasonable doubt, no clear and convincing evidence. This is political for us. And we have to address the politics of impeachment in a very much justified way, in a way that will show people that we are fair, but also will show people that we will not allow the president to run away with our democracy and to put democracy at risk. As a matter of fact, put our nation at risk, given what he was doing with the president of Ukraine.
Well, we want to share this tweet with you before you go. It's from Kyle Smith, who says, "You got to love the idea that the last 2 years and 8 months were what we'll all remember as the calm part of the Trump administration." How are you expecting all of this to play out now with President Trump?
As I indicated to many, this is a day after the point of no return. Yesterday, we reached that point. I think that we will march forward to impeachment. We have over 200 members who favor the inquiry. I think that we'll get 218 members who will understand that we cannot lose the balance of power on our watch, that we have to put principle above politics, that we have to put people above our party, that we have a responsibility to the future to make sure that in the present, we maintain the balance of power and keep presidents, not just this one, but all presidents in check.
Congressman, speaking of keeping people in check, before you go, we must ask, since you have been on the show before and you have been fighting for impeachment for over 2 years now, do you feel particularly vindicated today?
I do feel vindicated. I have to be truthful, but I think that many others are vindicated because it has been an effort of the many, not the few. And I think we should feel vindicated because it was lonely. We were in the wilderness. I remember when I made that statement on the floor of the House, I received death threats thereafter. We had to hire someone who sits in my office with a gun. When you walk in, the first thing you see is a person with a gun in uniform. We have to protect the public when the public's around me. We have to protect the staff when the staff is near me. We have had to change our lives, but it's been worth it because it's in the cause of justice that we do this. It's for reasons that unborn children will appreciate. The future is at stake, and we are the holders of the future. We must act, and we must impeach.
Congressman Al Green, thank you so much for joining us today during such a busy time for you and so many in America.
Thank you.